This field trip will introduce the sport of fly fishing. But before we get into the basics, where can you go fly fishing? Many think you can only fly fish in a trout stream, but you can fly fish anywhere. The IGFA traveled around South Florida to show a plethora of aquatic habitats where one can fly fish. There are many different saltwater habitats where you can fly fish, and yes, you can fly fish from a boat, like we did in Everglades National Park. We were targeting tarpon, snook, permit, bonefish, which are fish that can get you an IGFA Inshore Grand Slam. Fly fishing is also a great way for you to explore different habitats. On our trip to Everglades National Park, we saw bottlenose dolphins, a crocodile. We did see tarpon, but unfortunately we didn't catch any this day. And we also saw a few other cool things like this ray jumping out of the water. You can also fly fish saltwater habitats from shore, even at the beach. Here, we were targeting snook, jacks, and possibly barracuda. And wherever you go fishing, please make sure to pick up a few pieces of trash so that we can keep the environment cleaner than when we found it for our friends like this ghost crab. Next, we traveled to a brackish water habitat where saltwater and freshwater meet. Different fish like jacks, barracuda, snook, and tarpon, they travel to and from the areas on the changing tides. It's a great place to find some fish or some other organisms like this sea star.
Check this beauty out, anglers. Miss Lisa almost stepped on this 9-armed sea star. So yeah, this guy, he's actually in a family group called Echinodermata, which basically means rough and spiny skin. So if you ever see a sea star, they do have sandpaper-like skin, and something else they have is tons and tons of tube feet. So underneath, he's got all of these hundreds and hundreds of little tiny feet with little suction cups on the bottom, and basically they not only feel with these feet, they move with these feet, but they also taste with these feet. And right in the center of our 9-armed sea star is their mouth. Sea stars can actually take their stomach out of their body, digest their food outside of their body, and then bring their stomach back when they're all nice and full. Now I'm definitely going to return this guy in the water. They breathe underwater. They have gills. So up here, he is kind of holding his breath, but sometimes sea stars, they get stuck at low tide when the waters drop. And, well, sometimes they do have to stay out of the water, so he's okay. But I will return him in a nice safe spot where we won't accidentally step on him. You're so pretty!
Lastly, there are many freshwater habitats where one can fly fish. Creeks, streams, rivers, ponds, and lakes. This brings us to our field trip location, a freshwater habitat suitable to teach an introduction to fly fishing.
Hello anglers and explorers. Today we are here at Plantation Heritage Park. It is a freshwater habitat, and today we are going to go fly fishing. Now, my name is Lisa with the IGFA, and I am joined by my colleague Joanna and my fellow anglers and volunteers. We have Gavin, Bence, Sebastian, and Kaiya. Now, who here has caught a fish on fly before? Okay, just 2 of us. So who hasn't caught a fish on fly? So hopefully today is the day that we have some of us catching our very first fish on fly. So stay tuned, we'll get our rod set up, and then we'll do some casting practice and try to catch that fish. So what we're going to do first is set up the fly rod. We are going to take the fly rod out of our containers and we're going to attach the two pieces, but making sure all of the eyes line up. Okay, make sure all of the eyes line up. The next step to this process is we have to get the line all the way through every single eye to the end of the rod. So we're going to have our fly anglers kind of fold the fly line over and then put it through each eye. That helps you when you put it through the guides. In case you lose it, it doesn't come all the way back down on you. So if you do that fold in the fly line and you put it up, it does help you get it to all the way to the end of the fly rod. So now what we're going to do is we are going to stretch the line. Okay, we are stretching the fly line because with fly fishing, if we do not do that, the line creates line memory. Okay, so if we don't stretch it out really good, it starts to curl on us, creates tangles. So we're just stretching out that line memory. Give the line a good stretch. So we have our rod set up and let's do some casting practice so that we can get our flies in the water and try to catch us a fish. So while our volunteers and our fly anglers practice their casting, there's just a few things to keep in mind. Now, fly casting is a lot different than spin casting, using a bait caster reel, a conventional reel, any other type of fishing. It is different, okay? Because you are not casting a heavy lure. What you're casting is the fly line. That's what has the weight, because at the end, you have a very lightweight fly or almost weightless, okay? There's hardly any weight to this. So in order to cast it out farther, you have to get that momentum with the fly rod, okay? Now to do that, there's a few steps. And if you want to practice this, practice these 3 steps, okay? You start with your fly rod pointing at the water. 1, bring it up. That's all you do. 2, bring it forward. Remember, stop. I see Joanna over there trying these. 1, 2. 1, 2. You have to stop. 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 Very, very important. And I forgot to mention that you only have to go, imagine a clock, okay? Maybe you only go from the 10 o'clock position to the 2 o'clock position. Maybe a little more or less, depending on how much line you have out. But usually just 10 o'clock, 2 o'clock. Okay, so stop, stop. All right, so again, those 2 steps are 1, 2. 1, 2. Then when you go to cast, okay, you have your 1 and 2 going on. 1, 2. When you go to cast, don't lose that rhythm. Don't lose that rhythm and try to muscle it out there. Less is more. Less is more when it comes to fly fishing. So to cast, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Just bring your rod down. Depending on how much line you have out, you have to wait, okay? You have to wait for the line to unroll before you start bringing it to the 1 or 2 position, okay? If you start hearing a crack, like a crack, like a whip almost, slow down.
I only sort of know how to do this, but I know you don't want to go back and forth super duper fast. When you hear that whipping noise, you're definitely going too fast.
Slow down. Now your thumb kind of points to the end of your rod. But what do I do with my left hand? while my left hand is going to control the line. When you cast, you keep your hands together, okay? You don't want to lose the momentum by pulling them apart. That was my mistake when I first learned how to fly cast. I would always pull my hands apart, okay? And I actually lost my momentum with that. But if you keep your hands together, you will feel the load of the rod a lot better. And what I mean by the load of the rod is as you go back, as your rod tip is kind of curving, it's pulling that weight of the fly line until it unravels behind you. Same thing going forward, it curves, pulling the line with it until it goes forward. That is what builds the momentum to be able to unroll the fly line out. Now to let out line, you can start with some line hanging and then just let, as you go forward or backward, okay, whichever you feel comfortable, I'm just letting a little bit of line slip through my fingers here. Now, very important, the more line you get out, the longer you have to wait, or you have to actually slow down. When you only have a little bit of line out, yes, you can go a little faster until you get more line and slow down, okay? Because you have to wait for that line to unfold. So just slow down. And don't forget to stop. So you stop and bring it down. That's what you do when you cast. Less is more. After we cast, now what? You do what's called stripping in the line. You strip in the line. So you keep your rod tip pointing at your line the whole time. Okay, you want it in a straight line, and then you just strip in the line. So I hold the line here with my 2 fingers. I use my left hand to just strip in the line. The fly is not alive, so you have to be the one to move it in the water. So keep your rod tip pointing at the water, and then just strip in the line a little bit at a time. I'm just holding these 2 here to kind of guide it, and if I feel a bite, then I strip and I'm going to pull up. Just get ready, and you can vary your stripping of the line, okay? Do a couple short ones, pause, couple, pause. You're trying to make that fly move in the water to attract that fish. And then when you get to be, I don't know, a little closer to you, that's again when we start our cast. Remember, you start your cast down here and go to that 1 position and get it back out there. So let's change our leaders, let's get some flies on, and let's get our flies in the water, see if we can catch a fish.
So how we do the new leader is, again, we just take our leader, go over the fly line loop, and then take our leader and go up through the fly line loop. And now we gotta maneuver them back. Yep. And there we go. We got that square knot looking connection. That is the loop-to-loop connection. So our volunteers are going to get set up with their flies. Now you can pick whatever fly you would like. So we have a lot of Clouser Minnows, which we tied ourselves. And then on the other side, we do have a couple of other like nymph looking flies, some Clouser Minnows, some little beetle looking flies, maybe catch a bluegill. And then we have a couple woolly buggers here too. So the Clouser Minnow is going to be the bait fish pattern. The woolly bugger kind of looks more like a leech or like a crayfish almost swimming through the water. And then the beetle looks like a beetle. So here we go. We are going to pick some flies. So come on guys, pick a fly, pick a fly.
So our volunteers are going to tie their flies on with any knot of your choosing, okay? So you can use the clinch knot, you can use the uni knot, the polymer knot, which we have done tutorials in our other virtual field trips. So they're going to tie their flies on. We'll get the flies in the water. Bence, that looks so much better. You can actually see the line unfolding. That's so good.
Does this count as a catch?
You be the judge of that. One thing with fly fishing is you want to make sure you have plenty of space. And for safety, if you walk behind another fly angler, make sure he or she is not casting, because remember, they have to bring it back and forward. So there's a good chance if you walk behind somebody casting, you might get a hook on you, okay? So if you want to switch your spots, just make sure the fly angler is not casting. Gavin just had a bite, okay? So hopefully we're gonna turn the camera and hopefully Gavin can pick up on that fish. Right, just had a bite. Come on, Gavin.
So I just caught this tiny largemouth bass, and I caught it on the Clouser Minnow that we're using. And I'd say it's probably like a couple ounces. It's not that big, but it's still a fish.
Woohoo! Success! We have one fish on fly, a little largemouth bass there. So good job, Gavin. We're still fishing, and let's try to catch more. Now, the more we practice our casting, if we just practice a little bit, okay? Remember, get that stop and drop. Try to add a little bit more line, okay? So you're good with maybe about 10 feet, 20 feet of line. How about we try to add a little more? Try to add a little more, okay? And if that is going well, try to add one more arm's length. That will help you build your distance and help you get better with casting. Also too, there is a term in fly fishing called shooting the line. So what that means is when you get enough buildup, enough momentum, when you go forward with your fly rod, this hand makes a circle and the momentum takes all of this extra slack line out, okay? It's called shooting the line. That's how you shoot the line. But you have to get that load in the rod so that the momentum goes forward, which will drag all that slack out there, okay? Well, make a circle so that you're ready to put it right back here to strip in the line to try to move your fly and catch that fish. Woohoo! All right, Sebastian.
So I just caught this largemouth bass on a fly rod on a little fly that's red and white. I was over at a dock in a little corner behind some trees and he just hit it.
Okay, let's release him. Yes, we got one on, one on. Okay, so to reel it in, you don't actually have to reel. Just take your hand and strip in the line, just like Gavin is doing right now.
So this is a slightly larger largemouth. I caught on the Clouser Minnow right here. It's a little bit more torn up though, so probably gotta change it out. But it was just casting probably like 6 feet from the bank, and I caught it like that.
Perfect. Okay, let's go release it. Woohoo! Hey Gavin, were those your first fish ever caught on fly?
Yep.
Woohoo! First fish on fly! 2 thumbs way, way up! Yes, we got one! Strip it in. All you have to do is just strip it in. Okay, Kaiya, I'm gonna come in and help get that fish. Yep, just bring it closer. Oh, that is a bigger one. Yeah! Woohoo! First fish on fly! Woohoo! Woohoo! Yes, look at that one! Woohoo!
It's a largemouth bass. First fish on the fly.
Woohoo! First fish on fly! I was just telling Kaiya, we saw a little splash here by the water. So we thought it was a bass going after some of those mosquito fish. So what he has on is called a woolly bugger fly. It does kind of look like the mosquito fish a little bit. It's dark like how they are, and that caused the bass to strike, okay? So once we saw that splash, he got his fly right in the water, and we hooked up on that largemouth bass. Nice fish. So with Kaiya's bass, we actually had to use our net. It was a little bit of a bigger bass, and that was his first fish on fly, so we didn't want to lose it. So we did use the net. Now with IGFA's international angling rules, when you go to net somebody else's fish, you can't chase down that fish like 20 feet, 30 feet a ways away. No, you have to be 1 rod's length away from you and the angler who's fighting that fish. So I waited until Kaiya brought it close to shore, and then I was able to scoop up that bass. Also, the nets you want to use are rubber and knotless, okay? This will take off less slime of the fish. So if you use a net that has very big holes, it's made of something other than rubber, or if it has a lot of knots in it, it usually takes off more slime of that fish, okay? So this is a good net to use. And also you want, as you dip it into the water, the wetness of the net will take off less slime as well. We want to make sure we keep the fish as safe and as healthy as possible, especially if we're doing catch and release today. Woohoo! What a great day we had fly fishing here at Plantation Heritage Park. It was a beautiful day, and who caught a fish? Woohoo! We caught 4 fish today. Who caught their very first fish on fly? Yes, we got 2 anglers who caught their first fish on fly. Now, even though some of us didn't catch a fish on fly today, that's okay. Keep getting outside and going fishing, whatever type of fishing you would like to do. Okay, you can't catch fish unless you get out there and go fishing. So I want to thank our volunteers for joining Joanna and myself today. We can't do these virtual field trips without them, okay? It helps when we have more anglers out here fishing, and so we can learn the basics and catch fish. So as we're fishing Florida, I hope you enjoy these videos, and I hope you get out there and go fishing yourself. So until next time, we'll see you then.